Have you ever stopped in the middle of your day and asked yourself, why? Why do so many people work so hard, live their entire lives, and still never reach the success they dream of? Why is it that in a world overflowing with opportunity, most people still end up tired, frustrated, and unfulfilled? It's a haunting question, one that echoes quietly in the back of our minds. Most people never face it directly, because to do so would be to confront a truth that's far too uncomfortable. But that truth, my friend, is the very key to everything you've ever wanted in life. You see, the real reason most people fail is not because they are incapable. It's not because they lack intelligence, luck, or opportunity. It's because they've never taken the time to think, truly think for themselves. The greatest tragedy of human life is not poverty or defeat. It's conformity. Most people don't live their own lives. They live the lives that others have told them to live. From the moment we're children, we're taught what to believe, what to chase, what to fear. We're told what's realistic, what's possible, what's normal. And so we spend our days following the same routines, walking the same roads, repeating the same mistakes as millions before us, without ever questioning whether the path we're on is even ours. The average person wakes up, goes to work, comes home, and does it all again tomorrow. They may laugh, they may smile, but deep inside, something is missing. There's a quiet discontent that whispers, "Is this all there is?" That whisper grows louder with every year that passes, but most people silence it. They drown it in distractions, in television, in gossip, in busyness. They stay busy, so busy that they never stop to think about why they're doing what they're doing. And that's where failure begins, not in the loss of opportunity, but in the loss of direction. Failure doesn't start when a man loses his job. It starts when he loses his purpose. If you ask the average person what they want from life, they'll tell you, "I just want to be happy," or "I want to be successful." But if you press them, if you say, "What does that mean? What do you truly want?" they can't tell you. They have no definite aim. And without a definite aim, life becomes a random walk, drifting wherever the wind blows. Earl Nightingale once said, "People with goals succeed because they know where they're going." That's not just a motivational slogan. It's a law of life. You can't hit a target you can't see. You can't win a game you haven't defined. Yet most people spend their entire lives reacting instead of acting. They are passengers in their own existence, never realizing they have the power to drive. So why do they fail? Because they never take control of their minds. They allow their environment, their peers, their fears, and their habits to control them. They let the television dictate what they think. They let society define what's valuable. They let comfort steal their potential. You see, success is not reserved for the lucky or the gifted. It's reserved for the deliberate. It's reserved for the man or woman who decides what they want and refuses to settle for anything less. The difference between success and failure is not talent. It's direction. Now, here's a thought that might surprise you. If you look around, you will see that almost everything in your life was once just a thought in someone's mind. Every building, every invention, every business started as an idea. Thought, therefore, is the most powerful force in the universe. And yet, it's the one thing most people never learn to control. People guard their money, their homes, and their possessions, but they leave their minds wide open to whatever negativity, fear, or nonsense the world throws at them. They spend hours watching others live instead of living themselves. They fill their minds with trivial things and wonder why their lives feel meaningless. Your mind is like fertile soil. Whatever you plant in it, whether good or bad, will grow. If you plant fear, you'll harvest failure. If you plant faith, you'll harvest success. But you cannot plant weeds and expect roses. The law is absolute. You become what you think about most of the time, and that's where the majority fail. They think about what they don't want. They think about bills, worries, and fears. They live in reaction to their problems instead of creation of their dreams. They feed their doubts and starve their goals. And then they wonder why nothing changes. What separates the successful from the unsuccessful isn't luck. It's focus. The successful man decides exactly what he wants, writes it down, pictures it in his mind every day, and moves toward it, no matter how small the steps may seem. He understands that persistence and direction are worth more than talent or luck. He realizes that the mind is the architect of destiny. The unsuccessful man does the opposite. He floats, he hopes, he wishes. He waits for things to happen instead of making them happen. And when life becomes difficult, as it always will, he gives up, telling himself it wasn't meant to be. But you see, success doesn't come to those who wait. It comes to those who prepare. Opportunity doesn't knock randomly, it reveals itself to those who have built the door. There's a certain irony in human life. We spend years learning how to earn a living, but never how to live. We chase money, approval, and comfort, yet never stop to understand the source of our own power, the mind. Most people fail because they live from the outside in instead of from the inside out. They let circumstances dictate their emotions instead of letting their emotions dictate their circumstances. They believe that happiness is something to be found, when in truth it is something to be created. When you understand this, everything changes. You realize that success is not a place, it's a direction. It's not a single victory, it's a mindset. It's the result of consistent, purposeful thought and disciplined action. Think about it. Every man and woman who ever achieved greatness started the same way, unsure, unprepared, and afraid. But they made one crucial decision. They chose not to give up. They chose to take control of their own thinking. You see, failure is not a lack of resources. It's a lack of resourcefulness. The average person spends more time planning a weekend than they do planning their life. They invest hours into entertainment, but minutes into personal growth. They look for shortcuts, hacks, and easy roads, but none of those lead anywhere worth going. The real reason most people fail is that they're not truly committed. They want results without responsibility. They want success without sacrifice. But the universe doesn't work that way. It rewards those who serve, those who create value, those who persist even when nobody's watching. Success demands that you pay first and enjoy later. Failure offers enjoyment first and demands payment later. The choice is yours. You can spend your life avoiding discomfort, or you can use discomfort to grow. You can follow the crowd and end up where the crowd goes, or you can lead yourself toward your own destiny. The difference lies in one word: decision. Decide who you want to become. Decide what kind of life you will live. Decide what values you will stand for, and then act accordingly every single day. You'll be surprised at how few people ever make that decision. They think they have, but they haven't. They've made wishes, not decisions. A decision is backed by action, by persistence, by an unshakable belief that you will achieve your aim no matter how long it takes. When you decide with that level of certainty, something remarkable happens. The world begins to rearrange itself to help you. People, resources, and opportunities begin to appear, almost as if drawn by some invisible magnet. That's not luck, that's the law of cause and effect. Whatever you sow, you reap. Whatever you put out into the world through your thoughts, words, and deeds returns to you multiplied. But the average man never sees this truth because he never tests it. He never dares to believe that his mind holds that much power. He lives as though life happens to him, not through him. And so he becomes a victim of chance instead of a master of choice. The world we live in today rewards the thinker, the creator, the individual who dares to use his mind, the man who can think clearly in an age of confusion, who can act with purpose in an age of distraction. That man will rise above, because while most are consumed by noise, he is guided by vision. Every great achievement began with an idea, and the courage to act on it. That's all success really is: thought followed by action, guided by persistence. But most people stop at the first step. They think, they dream, but they never act. They wait for perfect conditions, forgetting that perfection never comes. The time to act is always now. The perfect moment is a myth, and so the man who waits fails. The man who acts learns, adapts, and eventually wins. Ask yourself, what would happen if you took 30 minutes every day to think about your goals? Not to worry about them, but to think quietly, deliberately, about what you truly want and how you might achieve it. What would your life look like in 1 year, in 5? That single habit alone could change your entire destiny. But almost no one does it. They say they don't have time. Yet they find time for everything else: television, gossip, meaningless scrolling. And that is why most people fail. Not because the universe is unfair, but because they are unprepared. Life does not reward need. It rewards creation. You don't get what you wish for, you get what you work for, think for, and persist for. You don't attract success. You grow into it. And when you finally understand that, when you stop blaming circumstances and start taking control of your thoughts, your life begins to shift. You start to notice opportunities where you once saw obstacles. You begin to respond instead of react. You become deliberate, disciplined, and dangerous in the best possible way. There's a beautiful truth I've come to understand after a lifetime of study and observation. Success is not something you chase. It's something you attract by the person you become. The moment you change internally, the external world begins to reflect it. Most people never grasp that power. They look outward for what can only be found inward. They seek approval, validation, and shortcuts. But life is not a lottery, it's a law. You cannot escape cause and effect. You cannot plant laziness and expect success. If you want a different result, you must become a different person. And that change begins the moment you decide to think for yourself, to stop following the crowd and start following your own clear vision. The real reason most people fail is that they never discover themselves. They never ask the deepest question, who am I and what am I capable of becoming? They live in imitation instead of imagination. They die with their potential still locked inside them. But you, if you've listened this far, you already know you were made for more. Somewhere inside you burns a quiet conviction that life can be extraordinary. And it can be if you dare to think, to act, to persist. The world belongs to the few who understand themselves, who discipline their thoughts, who refuse to settle for mediocrity. You can be one of them. But it begins with one quiet decision, to no longer live as the average man lives. You don't need to shout it. You don't need to announce it. You simply begin. You start thinking. You start creating. You start becoming. And that right there is the moment failure ends and success begins. When you begin to truly think, not in fragments, not with fleeting emotion, but with calm and deliberate direction, something awakens within you. You start to feel alive in a way you never have before. You begin to understand that the mind is not just a tool, it's a seedbed of miracles. Everything that ever existed, everything that ever shaped humanity, was first an idea in the mind of one person who dared to think differently. Yet most men live and die as if their thoughts don't matter. They believe that success belongs to a select few, those born under lucky stars or gifted with mysterious powers. They never stop to see that greatness begins in the same place for everyone, the mind. The tragedy is not that people aim too high and miss, it's that they aim too low and hit. They dream small, think small, live small, and then wonder why life feels empty. They've been conditioned to play safe, to follow rules, to fit in. But there's no growth in safety, no expansion in comfort. Every advancement in human history came from someone who refused to stay where it was safe. The man who dares to think for himself inevitably stands apart. He sees what others overlook. He moves while others hesitate. He endures ridicule, doubt, and misunderstanding. But he presses on because he understands something others don't. That the greatest risk is not in trying and failing, but in never trying at all. You see, there's a strange law at work in the universe. When you move towards something with faith, life moves toward you. The moment you commit, unseen forces begin to work in your favor, but they can only be activated by movement, by decision, by faith in action. Most people never reach that point. They live in hesitation, standing at the edge of opportunity, waiting for certainty. But certainty never comes first. It comes after. Confidence is not the cause of action, it's the result of it. If you wait to feel ready, you will wait forever. If you wait for approval, you will wait forever. If you wait for the perfect time, it will never arrive. The world belongs to those who start, who act despite fear, who move despite doubt, who keep going when others quit. Because truthfully, every master was once a beginner. Every great success was once a small, awkward, uncertain first step. Failure only becomes permanent when you stop moving. Success is simply the accumulation of small victories, one after another, built on faith, direction, and consistency. And that's the quiet truth that so few ever realize. Success is not dramatic. It's not loud. It's the result of quiet, unseen discipline. It's waking up early when nobody's watching. It's studying when no one applauds you. It's keeping your promises to yourself when it's easier to quit. The masses fail because they look for excitement, not purpose. They chase stimulation, not satisfaction. They want to feel alive, but are unwilling to build a life worth living. They look outward for motivation, when the real power lies inward, in your own capacity to decide and act. Each man and woman is born with incredible potential, but potential is like a muscle. It only grows through resistance. You must face challenge, endure struggle, and persist through failure to discover what you're truly capable of. And yet, this is where most turn back. The average man meets hardship and says, life is unfair. The successful man meets hardship and says, this is the price of greatness. One complains, the other adapts. One quits, the other grows stronger. And that right there is the difference. Not in circumstance, but in mindset. Every day you are faced with two choices, to evolve or to repeat. Most people repeat. They relive the same year, again and again, calling it a life. They fall into habits of thought and action that keep them exactly where they are. They fail, not because they can't, but because they won't change, won't think, won't believe. The greatest prison is not built of walls or bars, it's built of limiting beliefs. If you want to rise above the crowd, start by changing the way you think. Stop asking what's possible and start deciding what's necessary. Stop following the path of least resistance and start walking the path of highest purpose. Success is not a miracle, it's a method. It's not something you get, it's something you grow into. It's the natural result of living by certain principles: clarity, persistence, self-discipline, and faith. These principles never fail. They're as constant as gravity. But to live by them, you must separate yourself from the crowd. You must become an independent thinker. You must ask the questions most people avoid. What do I really want from this life? Am I using my time wisely? Am I truly becoming who I was meant to be? If you can answer those honestly and then act accordingly, you will achieve more in 5 years than most do in 50. You see, the world does not stop anyone from succeeding. It simply doesn't push them to. The gate is open, but few ever walk through. They look at the open door and convince themselves it's locked. They wait for permission that will never come. The truth is simple, but not easy. The moment you stop blaming circumstances and start taking responsibility, your entire world changes. Because when you take responsibility, you take back power. You stop being a victim of life and start being the author of it. And here's the miracle: once you start thinking this way, success becomes inevitable. Not immediate, but inevitable. Because your actions, guided by clear thought, begin to create consistent results. Each small success compounds into something extraordinary. It's like planting a seed. You don't see results right away, but if you keep nurturing it, if you water it, protect it, give it light, it must grow. It's not a question of if, it's a question of when. And that's where faith comes in. Faith is not blind belief. It's disciplined patience. It's the calm understanding that the law of cause and effect never fails. If you plant good thoughts, take consistent action, and persist, the harvest must come. The only people who never see results are those who give up before the harvest arrives. They abandon their dreams in the middle of the process, never realizing they were just inches from breakthrough. Most people fail inches from success because they judge the outcome too soon. They think short-term, live impulsively, and expect immediate gratification. But life doesn't reward speed, it rewards endurance. Every great success takes time. Time to learn, time to grow, time to become the person capable of holding that success. That's what most don't understand. Success is not about getting, it's about becoming. If you get the results without becoming the kind of person who can sustain them, you'll lose them. That's why so many rise fast and fall faster. The universe is structured on balance. You must grow into your goals. The size of your dream must match the strength of your discipline. So the question is not, can I succeed? The question is, am I willing to grow into the kind of person who can? Because if you are, then failure becomes irrelevant. It's merely part of the process. Each setback teaches you. Each challenge shapes you. Each struggle refines you. That's the quiet truth behind every great achiever. They fail more than most people ever try. They don't avoid failure, they use it. They see every fall as feedback. And that's where mastery begins. When you stop fearing failure and start using it as fuel. Most people think failure is the opposite of success. It's not. Failure is the foundation of success. The only real opposite of success is quitting. When you persist long enough, failure transforms into wisdom, and wisdom becomes power. It's been said that a diamond is just a piece of coal that handled pressure well. And so it is with you. Pressure doesn't destroy character. It reveals it. The moment you decide to embrace pressure, to see struggle, not as punishment but as preparation, everything changes. Life stops happening to you and begins happening for you. And that realization, that you are not a victim but a creator, is the moment your life truly begins. From that point on, your days have meaning. Your actions have direction. You wake with purpose, not panic. You move through each challenge with quiet confidence, knowing that the laws of life are on your side, because they always are, The real reason most people fail is because they never understand this law. They never realize that the key to life is not in chasing success, but in aligning with the principles that create it. Think clearly, act decisively, persist patiently, and above all, believe. For as you believe, so you become, and as you become, so you achieve. And that is the timeless secret that every successful person, every fulfilled soul has discovered, that success is not a destination, but a revelation of who you truly are when you dare to think, to believe, and to live with purpose.